Unexplained phenomena, they really get people thinking, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
And today, we're going to do a deep dive into one of the most famous, the Flatwoods Monster.
Oh, a classic.
Right. Picture this. September 12th, 1952.
Okay,
Small town in West Virginia.
got it.
A bunch of kids are out playing when suddenly they see this bright light streaks across the sky and crashes.
Oh, wow.
So naturally, they got to go see what's up.
Of course.
And what they find, well, it becomes the stuff of legends.
I can't wait to hear this.
She's got some really interesting accounts, analyses of the whole thing. I think it's going to be pretty fascinating.
It's interesting, the Flatwoods Monster, it's not just about, like, maybe seeing a creature.
Right.
It kind of shows us how people react to things they just don't understand.
Especially back then in the 50s.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Like, think about it.
Yeah.
The Cold War, everything.
Crazy time.
Totally.
So these kids run off to this crash site. What do they actually see?
So it wasn't just a quick look, right? Okay.
They talked about this pulsating ball of fire and this really strong, strange smell.
Oh, weird.
And then, get this, out of the darkness, the monster appears.
Wait, hold on. So a ball of fire, A-N-D, a monster.
Yeah.
That's wild. What did this monster even look like?
Well, that's where it gets really interesting. There's all these witnesses, right?
Yeah.
And they all describe the monster differently.
Oh, come on.
I know. Some said it was this huge, tall figure. Others, it had a head shaped like a spade.
Wow.
Some said glowing red eyes. Others, the whole face glowed.
No way.
Yeah, and then some even said it had a metallic look and made this hissing sound.
So many different details. It must be impossible to figure out what they actually saw.
Right.
You think it's possible they all saw the same thing, but they were just, I don't know, freaked out?
Definitely. Put yourself in their shoes.
Yeah.
Dark place. You don't know where you are. You just saw this thing crash. Weird smell. And then, bam, this thing shows up.
Your brain's going crazy with fear and adrenaline. It can mess with what you see.
Okay, that makes sense. But how did this tiny town story become national news?
So a few things happen. First, the story itself, it kind of played into all the anxieties of the time,
Right.
Cold War, people were scared of the unknown. Plus, the space race had just started. Everyone's looking up wondering if we're alone.
Right, right.
So this idea of a creature after something falls from the sky, it really caught people's attention.
So the Flatwoods Monster came at the perfect time, kinda.
Exactly. And people reacted in all sorts of ways. Some said it was a hoax, some said mass hysteria, but others, they really believed it was aliens. And then you have the whispers starting about a government cover-up.
Oh, a cover-up. That adds a whole new layer to this. So did anyone actually investigate this officially?
Absolutely. Scientists, researchers, they all went to Flatwoods trying to figure it out. Took witness statements, looked at the site, explored all sorts of explanations, but nothing concrete ever came up. The Flatwoods Monster, it's still a mystery.
Wow. A true unsolved mystery. So what are some explanations people have come up with, if there's no real evidence, I mean?
One of the most popular is misidentification. Some think they might have seen a barn owl sitting on a branch.
An owl.
Yeah, the screech owl, they live in West Virginia, and they have this face. It could look heart-shaped or even spade-shaped in the dark. And their eyes reflect light really well, so maybe that's the glowing eyes people saw.
So not an alien monster, but still pretty creepy if you see it unexpectedly. What else? Any other possibilities?
Well, there's the idea of a weird weather thing, like ball lightning.
Okay.
It could have looked distorted in the dark, especially with everyone being so scared.
Yeah, that's true.
But the thing is, even if it was something normal, what those people felt was real.
Right.
You can't dismiss their fear and wonder just because we haven't found a giant metal monster or a spaceship.
Good point. But I bet those aren't the only theories, right?
Yeah.
People love a good conspiracy.
Oh, for sure.
What are some of the more, let's say, out there explanations?
Well, the alien fans, they love this case.
Of course.
Some say it was a scouting mission gone wrong, or even an experiment that escaped from a secret government lab.
Right.
And then there's those who believe in interdimensional beings, creatures that slip through a rip in reality.
Now that's just like a sci-fi movie. But for this deep dive, should we focus on the more realistic explanations or the crazy ones?
I think the most interesting part isn't about proving or disproving anything. It's about what it tells us about people,
Okay.
Our need to understand what we don't know, to find answers, even when it's really hard.
So it's less about the truth of the Flatwoods Monster and more about how people handle the unexplained.
Exactly. Whether it was an owl or something from another dimension, the impact it had on people, on our culture, that's real. And that's worth looking into.
I'm with you. So it's been over 70 years since that night in Flatwoods, but people are still talking about it. Why do you think that is? What makes it so enduring?
On a basic level, it's just a great story. Mystery, intrigue, the possibility of something amazing. It's like a campfire story come to life.
You know, you're right. It does have that campfire story feel,
Yeah,
but I think there's more to it.
definitely. I think it also speaks to something deeper in us. The desire to know if we're alone in the universe, To understand the things that shape our world, seen and unseen.
And maybe sometimes not knowing the mystery itself is more interesting than any answer we could find.
I think so, yeah. The
Yeah.
Flatwoods Monster, it gives us more questions than answers, and that's part of what makes it so appealing. It makes us think, imagine, and be open to possibilities beyond what we currently understand.
It's like a mirror for our beliefs about the universe, right?
Exactly. And it's funny, the town of Flatwoods, they've really embraced this whole thing. Statues, festivals, even a museum dedicated to the monster. Yeah. It shows how a community can take something, even something scary and uncertain, and make it part of their culture. It becomes a point of pride, something fun, and even attracts tourists.
Oh, so they're celebrating the unknown.
That's a great way to put it. But it also makes you wonder, what do these kinds of events mean for us as a whole? Do they affect how we see science, the possibility of life beyond Earth, or even how much we can really understand?
Those are some really thought-provoking questions. Maybe we'll explore those a bit more as we keep going with our deep dive. But before we do that, I'm curious, what stood out to you about the Flatwoods Monster so far? What's grabbed your attention?
It's this balance between, being skeptical but also open-minded. It's tough, isn't it? Like, how do you look at something like this, think critically?
Right.
Maybe they misidentified it or their memories are off.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you got to be open to the idea that it could be something truly new.
Yeah, you don't want to be so skeptical you dismiss everything. But you don't want to just believe every crazy theory either.
Exactly. And the Flatwoods Monster, it's like the perfect example. You can
Yeah.
totally believe those people were scared and amazed.
Right.
Even if it turns out the explanation is, more normal than alien.
It reminds you that even normal things can seem wild if the circumstances are right.
Exactly. And maybe it's because we don't understand everything that makes these events so interesting.
Okay, but back to the Flatwoods Monster itself.
Yeah.
Did anyone else ever report seeing something like that? Was it just this one time? Or could there be more to it?
That's a great question. Were there any other weird things happening in that area?
Thinking about it,
Yeah.
the Flatwoods Monster is definitely the most famous thing from there.
For sure.
But I guess it's not the only strange thing.
Here's where things get even more interesting.
Okay.
The Flatwoods Monster is the big one, yeah, but there have been other reports.
Oh, really? Like what?
Strange lights in the sky, weird creatures in the woods. Just things that don't really make sense.
So maybe what those people saw in 52, maybe it wasn't a one-time thing.
Yeah.
Could there be something about that area? Something that makes weird stuff happen more often?
Some people think so.
Probably.
They say there might be something unique about the region itself.
Like a paranormal Bermuda Triangle.
Yeah. Maybe not that dramatic.
Okay.
But there are these theories about, certain rock formations,
Right.
magnetic anomalies, or even energy fields. And they could, mess with people's perceptions or even attract certain types of phenomena.
Hold on. Magnetic anomalies and energy fields.
Yeah.
What are those exactly? How could they change what people see?
So a magnetic anomaly is basically a spot on Earth where the magnetic field is different than the areas around it. We don't really know how they work, but some think they could affect your brain
Wow.
or even make you see things differently.
And energy fields.
That's a little more out there.
Yeah.
Some people think there are these invisible energy fields everywhere, and they interact with us in ways we don't understand yet.
So are you saying these magnetic things or energy fields could have been part of the Flatwoods Monster sightings?
It's possible,
Okay.
but there's no real scientific proof. It's more of a theory that people are looking into.
Okay. But it's a pretty cool idea.
Definitely. It makes the whole thing even more mysterious.
Totally. Shows how much we still don't know about the world, even places we think we know.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say, just for fun, the Flatwoods Monster wasn't an alien or some interdimensional thing?
Okay.
What if it was just a normal owl or some weird weather?
Uh-huh.
Does that mean what those people experienced wasn't important?
That's a really good question, and it goes to the heart of how we see these stories.
Mm,
Even if we find a scientific reason for what they saw, it doesn't mean their feelings weren't real.
right.
They were scared, confused, amazed, and that was real no matter what caused it.
It's like that saying, the monster is real, but it lives inside us.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe the real monster is just us being scared of the unknown.
That's a great way to put it. That's what makes this whole thing so interesting.
Yeah.
It's not just about what might have been in the woods that night.
Right.
It's about us, how we believe, imagine, and try to understand things we don't get.
That's about what makes us human.
Exactly.
We've talked about a lot today.
Yeah.
The event, the witnesses, different theories, even how it affected culture.
Mm-hmm.
But there's one thing I keep thinking about.
What's that?
Why do we love these kinds of stories so much? What is it about the unexplained that's so fascinating to us?
That's a question people have been asking forever.
Yeah.
I think part of it is just natural curiosity.
Mm.
We're wired to look for patterns, to make sense of things.
Right.
And when we find something that breaks the rules,
Yeah.
it makes us want to learn more.
So it's like we're trying to solve a puzzle.
Yeah, kinda.
Okay.
But there's more to it than that.
What do you mean?
It's also about awe, you know?
Okay.
This feeling of wonder at how big and mysterious the universe is. These stories remind us that we don't know everything,
Right.
that there are still things out there that can surprise us.
It's a little humbling, isn't it?
Definitely.
To realize how much we don't know.
It's good, though, I think.
Yeah.
It keeps us open to new ideas, reminds us there's always more to learn.
So even if we never really solve the mystery of the Flatwoods Monster, just trying is worth it.
Totally. It's about asking questions,
Hmm.
challenging what we think we know, and being open to the unknown.
And who knows?
Right.
Maybe while we're asking those questions, we'll find something even cooler than the monster itself.
Exactly.
So what do you hope people listening take away from this deep dive into the Flatwoods Monster?
I hope it makes them look at the world with, more curiosity and wonder.
Okay.
To not be afraid to ask questions, to challenge what they think they know, and be open to the idea that there might be more to reality than we understand right now.
I love that. I hope it makes them want to do their own research.
Yeah.
Explore the mysteries that interest them. You never know what you might find when you start digging deeper.
You never know. And maybe, just maybe, someone listening right now will have their own unexplained experience. Maybe they'll see something weird in the sky or catch a glimpse of something strange.
What should they do if that happens?
I hope they remember what we talked about today.
Okay.
Approach it with a good mix of being skeptical but also open-minded.
Right.
Write down what happened, share their story, and be part of the conversation about what's real.
Because that's what it's all about, isn't it? Learning more about the world, pushing the limits of what we think we know, and staying curious.
Yeah, beautifully said.
I think that wraps up our deep dive into the Flatwoods Monster.
For now, at least.
For now. But something tells me this isn't the last we'll hear about this weird and interesting creature.
I think you're right. Until next time, keep looking up, keep asking questions, and be open to the mysteries out there.
It's funny, we started talking about the Flatwoods Monster, this creature, maybe it's real, maybe not, but it feels like we've gotten into something much, much bigger, something deeper.
Yeah, it's true.
What do you think about that?
It's like the Flatwoods Monster, whether it's real or just a story, it's become this symbol. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This symbol of how much we love the unexplained and how badly we want to understand the world even when it doesn't make sense.
And it shows us that sometimes the most important thing isn't finding the answer, but asking the right questions. What do you think?
Totally agree. The Flatwoods Monster, with all its, mystery and unanswered questions, it makes us embrace that mystery. It pushes us to be curious, keep exploring, and never stop wondering what else is out there.
I love that.
So for our listeners, they're feeling inspired, open to new ideas. What's one thing they can do to keep exploring this stuff?
That's a great question. What do you suggest?
I'd say start by really looking at the world around you. Notice the things that seem a little off, that don't quite fit.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe do some research, ask some questions, see where it takes you. You might be surprised.
Great advice. And hey, you never know, maybe someone listening right now, they'll have their own encounter with something unexplained. Maybe they see something strange in the sky or a quick glimpse of something odd. What do you think they should do?
I hope they remember what we talked about today,
Yeah.
Approach it with that balance. Be a little skeptical, but also open-minded.
Right.
Write down what happened, tell their story, be part of the bigger conversation about what's real.
Because that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Learning more, pushing the boundaries of what we know, and never losing that sense of wonder.
Beautifully put. I think that wraps up our deep dive into the Flatwoods Monster.
For now, at least. But something tells me we haven't heard the last of this strange and fascinating creature. Until then, keep looking up, keep asking questions, and stay open to the mysteries out there.